Well, hi there, pop fans. It's Tony here with the Playground Pops, and I'm back today with another one of our pop talks. And I am excited to speak to our guest today. He is actually a returning to our podcast, so it's going to be more of like a catch up and see what's going on and what things are coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, prop collector, a prop restorer, like I say, prop historian, publisher. And an all-round really nice guy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, Mr. Neil Cole.
Hey, hello, hello. That's the best introduction that I've ever had.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm going to record this
I
afterwards and just play it to myself at night when I'm feeling sad because it's great.
I'm
It's
glad I
inter
could do that.
it's interesting. I just very quickly, the publisher, when you said publisher, I am actually, this is an exclusive announcement. Because I've been writing this book about Patrick Troughton's prop wise, what's left from Patrick
Yeah.
Troughton's time. It's kind of evolved, and it was with a publisher, and then ultimately I've decided to publish it myself for many, many reasons. And we're going to open our own little publishing house. We're going to have the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi is officially going to have a little, very, very, I'll call it a micro publisher. And we're going to turn it, so we'll have an Usborne numbers and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's quite exciting, really, because I loved making fanzines and comics as a kid, and it's very much been part of what I've done. But anyway, just to say officially, we are actually going to, I think it's going to be called Tin Rocket Press, and it's going to be very, very, very niche, geeky books, as you can imagine. But we just thought,
Sounds perfect to me.
yeah, I just thought, we should just do this, because you've probably seen the magazines I do, but this
Yes,
is
I have quite a few of them myself.
yeah, I mean, I love, they're a labor of love. I love writing them. I love designing them. And I've met some amazing people through them. But this is sort of like a step up. This is a proper, going to be an A4 book, lots of illustrations, full illustrations by myself, and also a set of photographs at the back, like a virtual museum at the back of what's left, what's written about in the book. And you're going to be able to sort of, it's just like not all in the museum, a lot. I've had to sort of cast the net to try and find what's out there. It's been very, very frustrating, but also fascinating to see what's survived. And obviously, there's a lot that's still hidden, but I've tried my damnedest to get at least an item from every story from Troughton was what I was after. So that's what the book's going to be about.
I know, I've been following that. I'm excited for that one to come out as well.
Good, thank you.
Something else to add to my collection.
You've got a lovely collection, Tony, behind you, mind.
Oh,
I've been
thank you.
looking at it. Did you make these?
Most of them, yes.
They're lovely.
There's a
They look
few of them
fantastic.
that are on other bases, but
Yeah.
this isn't even all of them.
No, I believe
Just
that. Yeah. No, it looks fantastic. No, it looks lovely. Yeah.
Right. So obviously, last time we spoke, we got into this lockdown. We spoke about how you almost like packed up the museum. And we just wanted to see, obviously, how things are going now that the shops have managed to reopen, how things have gone over the past years. Following online, it seems to be that things are going quite well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really funny thing, the museum, because I was a teacher for so long, you become institutionalized when you do a job like teaching. It's a stressful job, but it has its nice sides, but also it overtakes your life. And I think for me, I'm in my mid-50s now, and it's like I still every day I never get fed up of the knowledge I'm coming down to do something I never imagined I'd do. And then when people come and turn up, I'm still like, wow, you've actually turned up to the door to see this little museum. But we did our figures for the first time. We totaled them up. My father-in-law, Chris, totaled them up. We've had over 7,000 people to the museum. And that was quite amazing, and just about all of them have traveled, and we've had people from all over the world. I mean, I think when we last spoke, Tony, you haven't been to the museum yet, have you?
Not yet. I will be soon.
I'm glad you haven't. I say that because the museum is now in a situation. When we last spoke, it was okay. It was good. Obviously felt okay to open, but now I just feel it's at a far more, not impressive is not the word, but there's so much, it's more like what I wanted when I imagined it, because I've just kept I mean, this evening I've put a Sharda scientist shirt in, one of the tops they had. And just every time now you put an item in, you're just increasing that history, that little trip through history. And every item just increased, just, I don't know. And so I've been doing this constantly, slowly, slowly. And I feel now like anyone coming, I'm very excited for them to see it, and I hope they'll get a lot from it. So I think we've had a lot of visitors. The museum's evolved, got more displays in. Keith Barnfather from Real Time Pictures has been wonderfully helpful. He's donated loads of items from his own collection. And we've got a little, just behind where I am now, we've got a little spin-off display, which is dedicated to all the Doctor Who's, the independent spin-offs, which I think get overlooked. And for any of you old enough to remember when Doctor Who went off air the first time in '89, those spin-offs were magic. You'd go to HMV and there was Mind Game or Return of the to Devil's End, all these, and they were lovely. And to have just been able to sort of put a display, and it's just a celebration of that work. And then we've had the events going on as well. We've become, which I was whinging to Tony about earlier because I'm enjoying them so much. They're no pressure. Guys, if you want to do an event, it's so easy. Don't worry about. No, I'm joking. No, they've been fun, but as I was saying to you earlier, that they've taken me a little bit off my main mission plan, which is to restore, preserve, and display history for visitors. And I want to get back to that again. But I've made some amazing friends. I mean, I've met now, I know Sophie Aldred quite well. Sophie and Keith Barnfather, really, primarily, I suppose. They've been just so lovely and helpful. Sophie's donated bits to the museum. I've got one of my favorite items now in the museum is Sophie's boots she wore them through most of season 26. She wore them in Greatest Show, and they're just such a lovely pair. They're just a pair of off-the-shelf shoes, but they came straight from her. Things like I just love, priceless, really. And it's been going incredibly well.
It's got a history to it.
Yeah, it has. And what's really nice was she said you can have them for the museum as long as I write the plaques. I was like, oh, please, just go ahead, And it's that authenticity, and which is nice. But also, I mean, I've met people. I guess the other side of the museum is I've just met people I never imagined. I was an only child, a rural, semi-rural only child, quite an isolated kiddie growing up. Didn't know about fan groups, didn't know about the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, just was sort of got the target books if I was lucky. And now that I've met so many people from the show through this project, it's a bit mad, really. It's wonderful. But it's the other person who I really should say is Margot Hayhoe, who's been so lovely. She donated the Triffid because she was production manager on that, but she also did so much Doctor Who. And her husband, Mike, Mike's the most modest, quiet man you're going to meet. And he filmed the blinking regeneration from Pertwee to Baker. Do you know what I mean? That's just chatting with him over a coffee. Just the chance to chat to people has been wonderful. So it's been an amazing journey, Tony. Yeah. And not one I expect, not when we last spoke, not one I thought I'd be going on, to be fair. But it's lovely.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I follow him on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was like, it kind of amazed me, but it made me be proud as well. The items you had donated or loaned to the museum
Yes.
as well, other collectors. Which,
Yes.
You
Yeah.
think twice about that in a standard museum, like history. But it's such a nice thing that people have these items and give them to you, so now other people as well.
What? Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of people to sort of shout out, if I can. One is a chap called Marty Fairgrieve, who I met. Oh gosh, it was about I'm trying to think, a year and a half ago now. Last, he died, bless him, and he'd followed the museum. He'd come several times, and we visited, and he was a lovely chap from Scotland, and he'd already helped with the museum in various ways. And then he donated Grugger's costume. He said, basically, the plastic's going, would you be able to sort it out? And yeah, not a problem, I'll fix that for you. And then he said, well, in that case, you can have it for the museum, you see. So that was lovely. And again, all these pieces I can't afford now, really. Or I can afford occasionally, if I save and save. I'm not it's not this sort of wealthy mega budget. So what's happened is obviously it's the result of a lifetime of personal collection and restoring. But people like Marty. Then when Marty died, there was a donation of his few pieces that he had. So there was like the Ark in Space costume. That's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories of all time, Ark in Space. And to think Marty, it's nice to think he would. I know he loved the museum, so it's nice that they're here so people can see them. And then there's people like, I mean, Graham Harper. Graham Harper donated the Cyber Leader helmet from Doomsday. Was it Doomsday? Yes, Doomsday. Um, which was just so touching. He came round, had a look at the museum, and just thought, yeah, this should go in there. And then the other, not on a Doctor Who level, I was ending up talking outside the front of the museum with this lady. We've both been primary teachers. This lady was just on a day trip to Allendale with her daughter in a pram. And after we chatted, she went, "What's that over there?" And I said, "Oh, it's in my museum." She went, "Oh, you do a museum?" I went, "Oh, it's a sci-fi museum." She went, "Oh, do you want a chair from Event Horizon?" I went, "Yes." And it turned out, she went, "Oh, I worked on it." She said, "My brother worked on it." And I said, "Oh, who's your brother?" She went, "Oh, the director." And I went, "Oh, Paul Anderson." She went, "Yeah, Paul Anderson's my brother, or brother-in-law, sorry." And the next thing was, pop, a big chair of Event Horizon turned up. And which they'd had. Clearly, they just didn't know what to do with it. I mean, they're not. It's Event Horizon, not the friendliest, most fuzzy, warm-feeling film ever.
No.
But
No, I remember watching that film, and it's not what I
it's
expected.
bloody terrifying. My wife, when I said, she loves the film, but it's uncomfortable. And she said, "We're getting a chair from Event Horizon." She went, "So we're going to get an exorcist to come with it." I went, "If you want, we will get an exorcist in if you prefer." But that's the sort of thing that's been going on. And a chap called Les McCallum, there's another one. He drew the 1975 TARDIS for Mask of Mandragora. He did the drawings. He sent me his drawings. Just came in the post. But I've framed them. The thing is, I suspect people realize I'm not getting them. They're not going to be for sale. I mean, they'll be here until I cark it. And obviously they're here for people to see, and that's what I think a lot of people want. They want to know their stuff's going to be valued and seen, not just shoved away.
Yes. I think yeah. So it's just nice to be able to actually see items.
Yeah.
Enjoy them. It's the enjoyable thing. Collecting. I don't like to buy these items and lock them away.
Yeah. I think it's a funny one because as I've been writing this Troughton book, which is called "It Belongs in a Museum," is what it was called. I think what has brought me to I mean, I've been talking to private collectors who've been very kind and helped me with the book. A couple like Alex in London been super, and Colin Young in Scotland, and Jenny in Scotland, very, very kindly let me show their stuff. And I think for a lot of people, it's just too difficult to make a museum. I mean, it's funny because I think people have private museums, and I think there are websites, where you can share them. But I think I can't help. I know the difference between seeing a picture online and then actually going and seeing it in person is very different. And that's what this place is about. And I think the other thing we've done since we last spoke is the Doctor on Display DVD. And that's the volume 1, which is about real-time pictures, history of the Doctor Who exhibitions, which is a great collection of DVDs. Forgetting that I'm the first one, just forget about that for a second. That was a surprise to me, believe you me. I was not expecting that. I thought it'd be an add-on on the last episode, the last one, but no. It's just when you see the items and you get. I'm trying to think what I was going to say. Yeah, sorry. The museum itself, it really was a love letter to that first Blackpool exhibition I visited. That's what it was, and the design and the layout and the colours and the sound effects. It was my attempt to keep that going because I knew even the BBC exhibitions were as great as they are, and the newer ones, they've gone into a more corporate, slick style. And there was something about the classic BBC exhibition of props and costumes, which was, I don't know, it was theatrical. It was, I wouldn't say amateur's not the word I'm looking for, but there was a sort of old BBC-ness about it. It's hard to explain. It's like those old ghost trains, when you go on a ghost train. There was this sort of element of dark and narrow corridor, and it was just, I wanted to recapture that. You turn the corner here and you bump into Broton. And Broton, I actually saw when I was 5 at Blackpool. The costume in here, and obviously Mike Tucker's loaned that very kindly in the minute. So now's your chance to see it because he's here at the minute. But basically, Roton is a wonderful costume, but again, to turn around the corner and see it lit properly in reds and greens is the way that that costume needs to be seen. When it was last on display at Cardiff, it was in just daylight lights. I'm in here now, and I've seen Broton now in the daylight, and it looks like what it is in the daylight. It's lovely, but it looks like a rubber costume. As soon as you light that costume properly, it looks like a Zygon, and it's that magic. You just want to get that bit of magic back to viewing the items. You know what I mean? None of them look particularly well in bright light. I was actually saying that the new series props do look good in the bright light because they're so beautifully made. But I think the older props were dark, they were more theatrical prop making techniques.
It's made to be seen in the dark, but
Yes,
it's never well lit.
that's right. Yeah, and as a result, yeah, sorry.
So as you say, like the old Black Boy, I never actually made the film Black Boy. I did see the long exhibition.
That's the same thing.
That's something that stayed.
That's it. The Longley was just, I never got to Longley. I turned up at the door the year after it was shut. There's a whole story about that. But bottom line was that was the same thing. I think from what I gather, Longley was a bit smaller maybe, but it was the same idea. And there were, that to me was the Doctor exhibition. And then Llangollen was a bit like that. And the second Blackpool exhibition in the 2000s was pretty similar. But it was just evocative of the show. It had the original theme music, radiophonic sound, and it was just, there's something about classic Doctor Who. I've been listening to lots of podcasts about new Doctor Who recently. There's something about old Doctor Who, and it's hard.
It's nostalgia, especially for us. It was part of our childhood.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's wonderful. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to recapture here.
So obviously, the museum's doing really well.
Yeah.
Well, as well as it can be, you've got it set up, and you have, as we were talking, an event.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you obviously a bit of a chance to plug the event now.
Yeah. Well, basically, right way back when I started this project, I had the idea, and I'm still going to do this, right, of an afternoon in the pub with, right? As I've got older, I was teetotal for about 30 years of my life. I never touched a drop of alcohol. To my eternal shame, not really. I now like a pint of Guinness, which most people know. In moderation, I just like the odd pint of Guinness. And nothing gives me more relaxed than sitting in our local pub in front of the fire with a pint of Guinness. I don't smoke either, but at the end of the day, if I could, I would probably have a pipe. And I would sit in front of that fire with my pipe. My dad had a pipe. And my Guinness. But I love sitting there, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice just to have somebody like Mike Tucker in the pub and just natter with a handful of people? So that kind of expanded a little bit, that idea. And we had Sophie came, and we had John Levine came. John was wonderful. We had then Sophie Aldred came. Sophie's now been a few times. She is just so lovely to be around. She's so good at events. So good at just talking to people. She's just the best. I mean, she's amazing. Anyway, so these events have developed. Excuse me. And Keith Barnfather's been amazingly helpful with this as well. He's been super. So Keith and I talked about a year ago now. We thought, right, the last one we did was the Day of the Triffid. We had Margot Hayhoe, Graham Harper, and these were people I really, really wanted to talk to myself. These were people who were behind the scenes. And I knew that there was Margot I really wanted to talk to because I knew she'd worked with all five of the original Doctor Who's. She'd worked with William Hartnell, she'd worked with Troughton. I mean, this was just like, for me, I want to speak to these people. I'm interested to hear what they've got to say. Excuse me. So we put a nice event on and we called it Day of the Triffid, and I restored the Triffid for the event to tie in with Margot. So then we thought, right, we'll do another one because it was people enjoyed it. Bottom line, I'm doing them so people enjoy them. I'm not like Showmasters. I'm not trying to make, if I break even, I'm happy as long as I cover all the costs. And everyone was happy last time. So we thought we'll do this on. We'll call it the Monster Men because Keith had the idea for his next real-time pictures DVD, which is the Monster Man, which is about me, which is ridiculous. I'm incredibly humbled by it. I don't know if anyone will want to watch it, but basically it's about me.
Sorry, I put my hand up there. I definitely want to watch it.
Well, it's now won 4 awards, Tony, apparently in America, right? And I think it's won awards in America because the way it's been pitched, as I've seen, because I haven't seen it, is wacky Englishman in little ye olde village, pottering around in his cellar with monsters. The only thing missing is me with a Somerset accent to really set it off properly. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, but what I said was, look, if we're debuting or debuting this DVD, I would love to have the people I always wanted to talk to with the effects men. Always, because I'm repairing the things they made, although I'm scared as well because I'm sort of I'm worried I've messed up that work rather than and so Mike Tucker came on a visit about a year ago and he was lovely and he said he would be interested in coming back to do a talk, whether it was in the pub. I said about the pub, I said I like the pub idea, I like that. And he said he'd come back, and then I spoke to Rob Alsop, and Rob again's a guy I've followed for years. Rob's career is insane. He has had his filmography. I mean, he made the X-Men's costumes. He made the costumes for Gladiator. As apart from doing so many Doctor Who's, he's one of these unsung heroes of the classic era. He's also done so many, like the redesign of the new Sontaran, which is a lovely costume, the new Sea Devils, all these things. Despite whatever you think of the program overall, you can either love it or hate it. Bottom line is the costumes are wonderful, and the effects. I know people say Whittaker's eras looked a bit. To be honest, I thought the effects were pretty damn good to me, but whatever. I think it's the CGI people have whinged about, and I don't care. The actual costumes are fabulous. The hardware. The Gallifreyan Guard, I think, is my favorite that Rob did. I think that new version of the Gallifreyan, the Chancellery Guards and the Time Lords look fantastic. Anyway, so he's coming. And then the other person I've always followed is Stephen Mansfield. And Stephen did the Hemovores, the Tetraps, all the really heavy hitters from the Seventh Doctor time. And I'd been on a podcast with Stephen some time ago. And Stephen's just lovely. And the props he's done, I just think his sculpting, him and Susan Moore together, they just produced some of the most lovely monsters. I still think, the Destroyer looks fantastic, and it was like a new, really, it's a shame that the program died when it did, because I think in terms of I love monsters, as you probably gather, the monsters really had a kick in the arm when Stephen and Sue Moore got into of it, and Rob Alsop was in there at the time as well. I think as well. Again, he seems to. Stephen Mansfield, Susan Moore seem to have sort of become the names of that. But Rob Alsop did. I know the Candyman's the one that keeps getting mentioned. And people take the mick out of the Candyman. And it's like, I kind of always think, what the hell would you have done with that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, he worked from Dorca, is it Dorca? I can't pronounce her name. Dorca, I'm not even going to try. But she'd done the drawings, and it's Bertie Bassett. I mean, what would you have done? You had to make something. I think you did a damn good job of it, to be fair. Anyway. So we got this event going together, and the idea was that you can come and talk and relax, and a limited number of people, a full day. You can come and talk to some of these great people who've done special effects in Doctor Who, and then we'll show the premiere of the event, and also two authors who've sort of really got on board with the museum. I've been very fortunate. This is very fortunate. Glenn McCoy has been so lovely. Writer of Time Lash. He donated me his hand script, typed script. It's in there. He doesn't live too far away. He's going to drop in for the day, as is Stephen Gallagher. And I love Warriors Gate and Terminus. I think they're great stories. And he's popping in. So it's going to be just a really nice event where you can just chat. The whole point is you can just sit and chat. And there's not going to be these huge, whopping big fees. It's going to be affordable. I want to keep it real so that people can, I know a lot of the people come to the museum, they're all from all walks of life. But I don't want people who are on a limited income thinking I can't afford to do that. I just think it's not, trying to keep it accessible is what I always want to try and do with the museum as well. Sorry, I'll shut up now, Tony.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No, yeah. I totally get that. I think we want everyone to enjoy the event.
Yeah, definitely.
And you just do it. You just want to cover the process. Do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. I have my ticket already, so I'm looking forward to coming up.
Now, Tony, are you recording when you're there? You're going to be kind of one of our sort of flies on the wall, aren't you? Really, I think, hopefully.
If that's allowed.
Of course. Yes. Yeah.
Fine. Then, yeah.
I'd love you to. I don't want you to feel that you've got to not enjoy the day because you've got to sit there. Keith Barnfather, if he's watching this, Keith has absolutely said, I'm not bloody filming this time. Because every event we've done, he's been filming and interviewing, bless him, and he ends up not seeing anything, or just he's actually works really hard, Keith. You don't realize when I mean, the last few films we've done, he's been the cameraman, and Roger Stevens has been the sort of script writer and editing. He edited, but I mean, Keith's been doing all the material, and
It's a very hard work.
he never stops. Bless him, never stops. You know, and he said, "I just want to bloody enjoy this, Neil." And I went, "Yes, it's absolutely fine. No, that's
No,
So if you,
I will be there. I'll be doing some bits, but I'm enjoying it as well.
yeah, good. Yeah.
It'll be good because the lineup and the guests are amazing. Especially
Well,
for someone like me, I think that we're very
yes,
kind of similar. In the lineup
yes,
of guests you've got, these are the people I want
yes,
to talk to.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I mean, Mike did Red Dwarf. I mean, whenever I say to people, you know, the guy who made the Starbug's coming, they go, "What Starbug? What Red Dwarf?" Yeah. I mean, I was never a Red Dwarf fan because bizarrely, two reasons. One, it was the humor I never quite got. I'm a silly so and so, and I like funny things, but for some reason I just didn't quite get Red Dwarf. And I also got really annoyed at the time because I remember thinking, why is a comedy getting all these wonderful effects and Doctor Who's sort of not getting the same level of treatment? It felt to me, I remember when at the time, I don't know if it's true now looking back, but it felt like Red Dwarf, which you could have literally had silly spaceships in and it would have still worked. You know, you could have had like comedy ships, and it got beautiful model work. And then Doctor Who seemed to be struggling with the models and the time space. So that was why I didn't get into that. But I know Mike did a lot of Who, and then he went on and he did all those beautiful models for Red Dwarf. And then of course he then won BAFTA for Day of the Doctor. And one of the programs I was really impressed with Mike's work on was the Hiroshima documentary. It was like a documentary with reenact, and it was stunning. And he told me how he did that. And I just thought, I actually think Mike's work when he does things like the tower block in Rose, is it the tower block in Rose? He does that always at the Moon one, where the tower block, I can't remember the hospital, but I can't remember. Where he does these.
Big Ben.
Yeah, he did Big Ben as well. And when he does these, his spaceship models obviously are fantastic, but then I often think the actual realistic miniatures, when I say, you know, realistic, when in terms of real places, I always think they really are like, wow, you know, to construct a tower block that looks like a 1960s tower block, it's just that sort of level of skill. I just find that quite incredible. I'd love to have a go at doing it, but it's just wow, you know, quite spectacular.
I'd love to have a go at doing it, but I know I'm nowhere near that.
I'm the same, Tony. I'm the same.
I stick to my lane, and I venture into the other lane every now and then in the night.
I like that, Tony. I stick to my lane too, you know, and I think my lane now is is illustration and also clay work, repairing these monsters now. I think I'm kind of I'm not casting in fiberglass. I'm not doing all these things. I haven't really got the time. Time's so difficult, but I think I've kind of found a niche repairing old monsters, and I enjoy it. And I think I do a half decent job. And I'm just sticking to my lane. I like that. I'm sticking to my lane. I think that's yeah.
Well, I think it's a wonderful job to be doing as parents.
Oh, thank you.
We've not lost it.
Yeah. Oh, that's very kind. I can honestly say that there was a lot of props went to New Zealand. You know, I don't know if you remember the 2010 auction when Blackpool 2 closed. I was going down there every month to Blackpool because it's about what 2.5 hour drive from you. So for me, that was great. So I was popping off down there 2 hours, whatever. And I knew something was up. I could tell because it was so sad. The props were just in a terrible condition, and I was aching just to repair them. I'd managed to get 1 or 2 bits by that point, and I was starting to repair things and learn a few tricks and things. And then when they sold in the last couple of years, obviously you had no idea where most of them went. I knew I got a couple of them, all I could afford at the time. I think I managed to save £3,000, which to me at the time was like, I've saved £3,000. I sold a motorbike, you know, it was, you know, but I only bought so much, you know, that bought a few bits. But then since that they started then to trickle back onto the market, the private market, you know, where people were clearly like the Garm was number one. This guy just had no idea what to do with the Garm. You know, I mean, he's a big lad, and I was itching to get my hands on him. But in that time, the arms had deteriorated entirely, you know. And then even more sad was when a wealth of props had gone to a buyer in New Zealand. And it had actually gone to a little museum, which I'd love to see footage of, but I don't think there's any out there. And I think a mixture of the climate and a flood had just destroyed the rubber. So there was pieces from black just gone. And you think, oh my God, they were there. And I can honestly say the pieces that I got, like the Pteroleptil and Mestor, are now better than ever, actually. And they're in a very solid, quite happy state, thanks. And if I could have just got more pieces, there would have been more left. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
obviously not just me, but other people who do the same as I do. And it's just like, oh, they were literally, I mean, the number of pieces the Vervoids that were there have gone. They don't exist anymore, you know? Sorry, oh, I have one upstairs, sorry, that came back it's the worst state of any prop I've ever had. And I've got it in various bits. And as soon as this event's over, that's my next project. I can't wait any longer with it. I've got to get on with it, you know? Get on with the Vervoid, you know?
There was a little child inside my head then that just did a happy little dance for said you were repairing the airport.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think, I mean,
you
at
sort
some
of said
point,
it. It was like exciting.
yeah, well, unfortunately, at some point, Broton will probably, you know, Mike's going to end up needing it for one of the exhibitions either he's doing or the BBC's doing. I mean, that would be a sad day because I love Broton. But when he goes, I thought actually, monsters now are very difficult to get a hold of, obviously. I thought, right, Vervoid would go in probably not obviously never going to match Broton, but I thought that would be a nice one because again, the museum itself, I tried to present everything chronologically, and I just can't manage it because of space. It really upsets me. It upsets me. It upsets me. Excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold as well. So Broton is in the Trial of a Time Lord section, which is clearly absolute cobblers, but it's the only place I could fit him in. But I thought, right, okay, one day when eventually he does go, I've got a clutch, I've got a Megarian and two Hyperion costumes in there. So I thought, oh, that would be lovely. I can then transfer them, and I thought I could have like a proper little display of Trial of Terror of the Vervoids, and I get the Vervoid in with the two Hyperion officers and the Megarian. I thought that's a really nice display. So I'll try not to shed a tear when that happens, you know, and just you know, but yeah,
It will be sad. I know what it's like to lose.
yeah, yeah,
It's, you know, you can obviously enjoy it with other people, but you kind of have a plan.
yeah. You've got
That's an exciting thing as well.
yeah, I try not to. Well, there's two things. I tend not to accept loans on items. I get lots of quite a few people wanting to loan things. And there's two things about that. First of all, they'll say you can have it for a few months. Well, you'll appreciate this as someone who builds things. You know, for a display, I've got to actually build a display. And they're really now it's like a jigsaw because I've got so many bits in. So I'd have to dismantle a display, saw it all up, remeasure it, rebuild it. You know, you're looking at a week's work, you know, to get something, design a plaque, print the plaque, put it in, and then it's in for a month or two. It's just it's just soul destroying, really, to do all that for it to be in for a short time. And then the other thing, of course, is I get scared of stuff. If this place sets on fire, I mean, after I jumped off the bridge, providing I survived the fall, when I came back, at least I wouldn't be worried about anybody else's stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously I've got insurance, but I'll never get those items back. And I think it's just stress wise. There's people who would lend me stuff to put in that gap. But I think when Broton goes, I think to have something just ready for that transition, because Tony, it'll be a painful transition. Saying goodbye to Broton will not be a good day. You know, like when your dog dies,
Yeah.
it'll be that. It'll be like, there's Broton. Do you know what I mean? It'll be a very sad day. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
So obviously things are looking good. We've obviously got the event coming up.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the next project, which is also me. Down coming. Hopefully there'll be lots of stuff online.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think at the moment that's all we've got time for.
Yeah.
today. I'd like to obviously thank you, Neil, for
You're very
your
welcome.
time, because I understand you are very busy running the museum.
I'm
Putting
juggling.
things together, and the event that's coming up on the
Yeah.
20th of April.
Yes.
So if you're watching,
Yeah, we've still got a
on the
handful.
20th
If
of
you,
April,
yeah, 20th of April. We've got a handful of tickets still. We're pretty well. We're getting there to full up now, which is great. But yes, we can squeeze a few more in if anyone would like to come along. It very much is. If you love props and costumes and you love the history of Doctor Who, I can't recommend it enough. And that it will not be a queuing extravaganza. This will be a proper chance to have a chat with some people and see a film that's never been seen about Doctor Who. And it'll be just a lovely day with home baking in the village hall. What more could you want? Oh,
we're really looking forward.
oh yes. Yes,
But
it's going to be
obviously,
lovely.
if people can't make it there on the 20th, obviously the museum's open.
Yes, no, part of your ticket, part of the 30 quid ticket price includes the premiere of the film. You get to meet the people and you get pop across for as long as you want in the museum on the same day. So it's I think pretty good, pretty cool. We're also going to do, in terms of the autographs, I have been asked for this, if anybody asks. I think for the Doctor Who people, or just I'm going to make a bit of like a commemorative art card type affair. And I'm going to charge probably about 20 quid for the card. And if you buy that card, you can then go and just get it signed by everybody with no extra cost. And I think rather than having individual autograph prices and stuff like that, I think we all agreed it would be quite nice just to have, you buy like a commemorative card and then you can go and get it signed. And I thought that'd be quite nice. Yes, no, part of your ticket, part of the 30 quid ticket price includes the premiere of the film. You get to meet the people and you get pop across for as long as you want in the museum on the same day. So it's I think pretty good, pretty cool. We're also going to do, in terms of the autographs, I have been asked for this, if anybody asks. I think for the Doctor Who people, or just I'm going to make a bit of like a commemorative art card type affair. And I'm going to charge probably about 20 quid for the card. And if you buy that card, you can then go and just get it signed by everybody with no extra cost. And I think rather than having individual autograph prices and stuff like that, I think we all agreed it would be quite nice just to have, you buy like a commemorative card and then you can go and get it signed. And I thought that'd be quite nice.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I think people like Mike Tucker, I think, will bring in books as well, So if you want one of Mike's books, I will be probably buying one of Mike's books. Because, if Mike does a book, I want to read it.
He's got one there that I haven't already got.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. But very exciting. Yeah, very exciting.
Yes. Well, thank you very
Pleasure.
much for taking your time out of that very busy schedule.
No, you're welcome. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.
Cheers, then, guys. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that one. Please like, please subscribe. I will see you in the next video very soon.